Education is supposed to unlock destiny. Before you learned math, you learned how to measure yourself. Before you knew your ABCs, you were already decoding how to be accepted. Make it make sense. Why? And let's be honest, many of us, the classroom, I'm going to break this table today. The classroom didn't just teach knowledge, it taught silence. It taught us how to forget who we are. It taught forgetting. It taught that who we are was secondary to what we could produce. Let that sink in. It taught us that who we are is an aside. What we produce for the system is what matters. How does that sound to you? Guys, there's fire on the mountain. And on that note, I welcome you to another special episode of the Mountains of Influence podcast. This is episode 3 of our special series on finding the equilibrium. And we are moving from the fractures on the mountains, on the various mountains of influence to fullness. And of course, I remain Abimbola Victoria Olide, your delectable host. But I hope you're enjoying not just the views or the looks or the fashion, but you're also learning divine lessons. Because like I've said, on this special series, this is a clarion call. It is a prophetic call. So today, as you can already see from the intro, we are talking about the mountain of education. We are not here as students, but we are here as reformers. Not to memorize more, but to remember who we were before the world told us who to become. That is a line from my book, Finding the Equilibrium. So, it's Otitemi, Mountains of Influence podcast. Yeah, I just felt like throwing in a bit of Yoruba as a Yoruba girl from the western part of Nigeria. This is how we show up. So, how do we move away from the fracture that education has created in us right from when we were growing up? Look, education is supposed to unlock destiny. But for many, it muted the very voice they were born to speak with. Sad, isn't it? I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? From standardized tests to assembly line learning to learning by memorization to being called a failure because you failed a test, from comparison to conformity. You and I know what I'm talking about. Everyone that has been through the education system knows exactly what you can relate. Many of us were taught to compete, not to connect. Does that sound familiar? We were taught to just give a performance, perform, but never to be or to become who we were truly meant to be. No wonder our world is in perpetual chaos and we are constantly seeking meaning. In a world obsessed with curriculum, we forgot the core of who we are. We forgot our core identity. We forgot the core values of where we are coming from, the kingdom of God. We forgot the core design that makes us different and unique. So many buried potentials. In schools, I watched as brilliance was boxed into becoming a discipline, becoming a doctor, engineer, accountant, lawyer. You know all of them. Creativity was crushed under compliance. Calling was never mentioned. Who wrote the script, really? No wonder there is continuous war between the souls and the systems. And come to think of it, the system is made for the soul and not the soul for the system. But we have turned it upside down. This mountain didn't just shape what we know. No. It started shaping who we believed we could never be. It started shaping who we believed we could never be. Let's go beyond the curriculum. Let's go back to the core of who we are. It's a serious matter. So, what is equilibrium in this context of our conversation, of our series of discussion? Finding the equilibrium in the context of the mountain of education. Friends, it is not about abolishing knowledge. No. We don't do that here. Knowledge is important. And mind you, knowledge is only power when you use it right, when you actually know how to use it for what it's meant for. It's about anchoring it in identity. Keyword, identity. Real education activates the soul before it instructs the mind. What kind of education are we receiving? Is it killing our souls or is it activating our soul? Then instructs our minds. This reminds me of chapter 7 in my book, Finding the Equilibrium. Now, imagine a classroom. Yeah, let your mind cast back to when you used to be a student. Imagine a typical classroom where purpose is taught before profession. That would have been an ideal world, right? Unfortunately, it's not. Imagine a classroom where emotional literacy is as valued as reading fluency. Won't we have a better world? Look, we need to come to the truth and accept that God's design is central, not peripheral. It's not a surface thing. It is in our core, it's design. We are by nature like God. We must remember we are not just educating the brain, we are cultivating the image of God in motion. So really, is our education in the image of the one who made us, the one who sent us to the world to make it a better place, to be fruitful and have dominion and multiply? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. The best teachers are not just instructors. No, they are midwives of destiny. So if you're a teacher and you're listening to this, your job is not just to create a curriculum or to create a scheme of work. No, you are a midwife of destiny. How are you stewarding the destinies that have been entrusted into your hands? And even if you were never seen by one, you can become one. You can propose in your heart to become a midwife of destiny. Because education is critical, it is important, but how it is served also matters. The content matters. So we need reformers in the classrooms. So have you been called to be a reformer on the mountain of education, in the classroom, in the boardroom, in the facilitation room? This isn't just about school. It cuts across every form of education that you can imagine. This is about the system that educates society formally and informally. Every form of education needs to take us back to our original design, where we can thrive and truly be who God has made us to be. So maybe you're called to reform schools or to teach through books, teach through podcasts, content, coaching, mentoring. Maybe your rod, like the rod of Moses, is a voice of reformation. Maybe, just maybe. It can be a voice of reformation in the boardroom, through a mentorship program or a digital academy. There are so many routes in which you can re-educate human mind. So are you going to heed the call? But that is why you feel the disequilibrium when you see some certain things in the area of education. You don't need a chalkboard to be a teacher. No, not in this dispensation, in this era. No, you don't need that. You just need a revelation, a story, and the courage to speak. Pick up your phone, go on IG Live, go on YouTube Live, go on TikTok Live, and teach and begin to re-educate those that you are sent to. Your sheep will hear your voice. This mountain of education is ripe for reform. And you and I are the ones that will reform it. It's not the government, it's not the politician. You and I. Curriculum is everywhere. But the world is starving for depth, starving for core meaning, starving for identity. So let us bring it all back to the center point so that we can find the equilibrium. So you already know, in this series, we are going to be having some reflective prompts and coaching session. As a coach, I'm not just going to talk. I'm not just going to give you information. I'm going to give you things that will transform your mind. So pause and take your journal and answer these questions. Ask these questions and answer them. What false beliefs about yourself did you inherit in school? A teacher probably called you a dullard, or some other students probably told you were ugly, or you are too tall, you are too short. What did they tell you back then that you're still holding on to? Number 2, were you ever rewarded for being who you truly are, or you were ostracized? They stopped talking to you because you really wanted to live your authentic story. Write it down. 3, what subject, story, or struggle lit up your heart on fire, but you have constantly ignored it because of what people would say? What would they say? It's time to stop thinking about what they would say and ask, what would God say? You are living for the audience of one. See, how might God be calling you to teach, mentor, to model, to advocate? How is He calling you to do it in your generation? It is wired to you. Just the way, uniquely wired to you, just the way your fingerprints are unique to you. So, dear reformers, you were never meant to just pass tests. Nah. Why? Test is man-made. You were meant to unlock destinies. You are not a product of curriculum. No. You were made freshly baked from the very core of heaven. You are a carrier of the core. You have a core, you have a depth inside of you that you need to unleash, that you need to awaken. So, whether you were overlooked, mislabeled, they called you a misfit, or you've been underestimated, God saw you before anybody else. Before I formed you, I knew you, I ordained you. And God is still very much interested in your matter. His eyes is on the sparrow. His eyes are on you. And maybe, just maybe, you are the reformer the mountain of education has been waiting for. Are you going to heed the call? Because you were wired for it. You were made for it. You were made for it. To give you journaling prompts and for you to, think deeply about the things that you've received in this episode. Because the mountain of education after family is very important, because it's almost like right from family, you go straight into education. Everything starts to load you. Your environment starts to prime you for the future that you are headed to. So it is very critical. And of course, if you haven't placed an order for finding the equilibrium, what are you waiting for? You need to order your copy. You need to order your copy, because right in there, I share my story, other people's story of how to find the equilibrium and research back framework that will help you to get back to Eden, to help you to wage war against the tyranny of the ordinary, to help you to become who God has really made you to be. I know your soul is at war with the systems of this world, and finding the equilibrium will help you to find the balance that you need to truly dominate and to truly flourish on this side of the earth. And on the next episode, we are moving into the mountain of government, where policy meets prophecy and justice cries out for reform. Until then, I remain Abimbola Victoria Elide. Don't forget, you don't just carry knowledge, you carry keys. And it's time to open locked systems. You hear me? It's time to open locked systems. This is the Mountains of Influence podcast. And until next time, let the reformation continue. I'll see you in the next episode. Au revoir. Bye. See you later. Odabo. Segobe. Here is to the bold visionaries, kingdom-minded disruptors at the forefront of God's end-time agenda. While some may call them crazy, we see a call to dominion mandate. God has empowered us to take territories, solving the world's greatest problems under the power of His glory. This is the Mountains of Influence podcast.